All right, I am now recording. So, you say you're knowledgeable on pet master dynamics. Okay, me too. I'm so glad we have so much in common. Slay. All right. But do tell. All right. What do you think about master dynamics? How do you feel about it?
I mean, they're a good thing. Like, I like them, enjoy them, obviously, considering my line of work and just like, kind of my career path and all that. So I've been in and out of them multiple times over the years. It's a little complicated, especially like in the VR world.
I do
Um,
understand what you mean by that. Oh, go figure. I have actually, despite the way that I come off, I've actually done quite a fair share of number of shit inside of the game, right? I
mm-hmm.
just believe that along with side being a gooner and a fuckhead, you can still be responsible as an adult, right?
Oh yeah, of
I've
course.
went in and out of pet master dynamics. Usually the master. I don't think I've ever been a pet actually, right? But it can get quite interesting depending on the individual that's in the former positions.
Hmm, definitely. Um, Because like I've been in this situation both IRL and inside VR. So,
Hmm. Okay,
uh, considering I worked as a professional dominatrix for over 20 years,
20
IRL.
years.
Before I even like got into VR content creation. I don't think VR at the time was even existing yet. At least
Not
not in the way it is
prominently.
now.
Yeah, not a main
Yeah.
forefront or prominent. Not exactly lifted off the ground just yet. Still kind of getting its running shoes on. Yeah. Well, the way that I go about Pet Master Dynamics, at least in VR chat, right? I've always argued that it should be a bit of a more intimate thing than just we fuck and you're in this position, I'm in that position, right? I argue that
Oh,
it's
most
something,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. At least that's what I argue. It seems like that isn't exactly the most common motto, though. Seems like people usually just
In
kind of say
VR,
fucking.
no,
Yeah.
because if you were to take it as from a VR's perspective, a lot of people in VR treat it as a game, aside from it being a social platform, and it's what's the word I use like NPC syndrome.
Ooh,
Like
interesting
for example,
terminology.
for example, like you've probably heard or played of Skyrim,
Yes.
or Fallout for that matter. There's always like those people that like go in, save the game, go into the village, kill everybody, and then restart the save.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in VR chat tend to have that mentality because they see a character, they see an avatar, and they don't realize that like there's a person behind that. Um, and the whole ERP thing in the VR chat community is like often seen as just that. It is a game. You go in, you have fun. They don't really consider
The
people's
person
feelings
behind it. Yeah.
and emotional attachment in the matter. And like that applies to everything. That applies to content creators. That applies to just regular players and
Mother's
people that have fun.
friends. Yeah, I've
And
always argued that that was a big problem in the community because obviously you're
mhm,
not just dealing with go figure characters, you're dealing with people with emotions. And I find that the most
right.
prominent people who usually argue such notions are those who are pushed towards a corner logically, right? Or emotionally, where they're like, "Oh, well it's just pixels." And it's like, "Well, it wasn't pixels
Hmm.
before, you're just in trouble, so you want to avoid accountability. So now you're just saying it's pixels, right? So it's a very weird notion. And as for those who only think of it as a game, it's kind of odd with those ones because they think of it as a game, but then they'll come out with friends and it's like, okay, are they just a game too, right? Basically, if you come into VR chat and you come out with friends, loved ones, VR chat family, anyone of an intimate level or a connection, you kind of can't just argue that they're just pixels anymore. You know what I mean? You kind of have to argue that
Yeah,
they're a little
exactly.
bit more important than just that. But I always found that to be very interesting in pet master dynamics because they always get so finicky. right? It's really weird because obviously it depends on the people involved, on what kind of dynamic they even have. Yeah, pet master is the umbrella scope, but we have some pet master dynamics where it's purely sex. Those that are kind of more like a romanticism, but both parties don't want to be
Right.
romantically inclined, right? They don't want that level of commitment. Then we have those that are like, I'm only with this one individual pet, and then there are some people who are like, I have many. Same thing, vice versa for masters, right? For that argument, right? It's always very interesting because the mentality associated with the idea seems to shift predominantly with a lot of people. But there is one common
Yeah.
notion, and that notion isn't even related to Pen Master. It seems to be a whole separate thing in its entirety, which is
Oh yeah.
NPC syndrome, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
very
I
interesting.
I've seen a lot of people. I've come across quite a few people that are collectors,
It's the same.
and they the harem people, the VR harem people that like, oh, look at all the wives, look at all the subs, look at all the pets and stuff I have, and it's all like for play and for show, but they still got this, like, they still have like this ego behind it, and like I've come up, I've had content creators, I've had just regular people that I've come across it, and given my line of work and like my history with that and my involvement in like the BDSM community, like it's like one of my biggest pet peeves. No pun
I know
intended.
what you mean because it's like, okay, dude, you shouldn't be proud to show off something like this. This should be something that's more seen like, and that it shouldn't be treated like a commodity, like a thing of like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, look at all these custom soda cans I just acquired. I drank them back in 1994, right? Now I'm bringing them back out of the shelves because I just want to show them off to my buddies. Like it's not something you really do when it comes to someone with emotions or people, especially considering how fickle the emotional state of certain people are. And I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just me, but it always feels like when someone has like a dynamic like that, where they have like a harem, it's usually comprised of the most mentally unaware or socially inept people I have ever seen that have like zero self respect for themselves.
I
On like
funny you
predominantly.
say that. Funny you say that. I've had this talk before with some of my friends. Like some of the groups I help moderate and stuff like that. We actually had quite a few. I even made a big video talking about this kind of topic like a couple years ago. Um, like uh we were talking about, me and my friends. He explains it as oh yeah, the top dom market is in shambles right now because like almost everybody in VR chat is like a subby little femboy or like a little kitten, and that just melt at the like at the single like soft whisper sweet nothings.
Dude, I
And
swear to God, I
I
hate
was like,
that
yeah.
shit so much. I
And I was
fucking
like,
despise
you
it.
were kind of right. I was like, almost everybody. I was like, it's very hard to find like dominant people
What
in
what
this
I
community
find
that
to
aren't
be
pretending to be.
that, and what I also hate is that the dudes that are doms are, and I was just arguing this like literally last night, right? Are so hard headed. I hate hard headed tops. I don't like a hard headed top. Why? Because the idea of it's my way or the highway in every conceivable situation, no matter the fuck what, is a very annoying concept to work around in any respect. Right. Also, there are those that think that being Dom means being an asshole. And that's obviously
Oh
not
my god,
exactly true. That's
no.
not the way to be a
The
Dom.
it makes me think of that old Roblox meme that went around way back when, where he's like, "Daddy's still talking," and he's like dancing. Remember?
I,
I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard of it. It's a little bit, in my
Yeah,
age category, it's a little bit memed on quite often and brought up. A little bit
yeah.
too much in my server now that I think about it. But I always found that weird because of course I've always like found it interesting to talk to people. Before the content stuff, I actually would go around, interact with people because I find people to be oddly predictable and interesting at the exact same time, which is kind of
Hmm.
contradictory, right? Because people will do very similar things, but they'll do it in such a different way that it becomes interesting, right? Like everyone will do like sexual shit, right? And then we have that one fucking freak that's like, actually, I like toes, right? Right? It's like, why do you like toes? I just have to know now.
Wait a
You know?
minute.
Like, where did that come from? Where in your DNA did it say, fuck it, frontal cortex, tootsies? You know what I mean? But when it comes to tops, I've always asked them like a little bit of a question. It's always like a little social experiment, especially the hard headed
Mhm.
ones. And I'll be like, okay, would you ever bottom? That's the starting one. And they're like, no, I would never bottom. I'm like, okay, well, what if it was someone that you've been with for 5 years romantically? And they're like, well, and then you think about it for a little bit, right? And usually I would get well, for them, I might. Not all the time, but I might, right? I'm like, okay, interesting. And for those who say no, then that brings me to the second part of that question. I'm like, okay, so are you saying that being open-minded isn't a thing that you would want to do for a person you've been with for 5 years? They're like, no, that's not the case. It's just, I don't exactly feel comfortable. If I felt comfortable enough, I might consider it, right? And I always found that interesting because it means that most of the tops in the game, right, or just in general, that claim that they're really, really hard tops, probably aren't that way in a private session with someone that they care about. To everyone else, they're tops, but probably not with a specific individual, right? I always found that an interesting concept. Now, of course, this is here and there. It's not every top. It's just predominant. My dogs are fighting. But I always thought that was a very interesting thing. Also, some of them are
Right.
very ignorant. That's why they're a top. It's just that they're highly ignorant. There's this
Mhm.
one dude I met in like a fucking furry hideout. I believe his name at the time, maybe still is, was called Repentless. Right? Little funny, little goofy name. He was like a big fucking, that one variant of the fucking Nova Beast that looks like a masculine top. Right? And he's like,
Mm.
I'd never bottom. I'd never bottom. Not my thing. I'm like, do you know how to cook? Or like, anything like that? He's like, no, 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 that's a feminine trait. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's a survival skill. All right, that men do. Like we used to hunt and then have to cook the shit that we hunt. I don't know how that's a feminine trait. And I'm like, okay, do you know how to cook at all? Then if you were to be put in the position, he's like, no, I have my bitch do that. Right? I'm like, oh, you're what's the one? He's like, no,
Oh
no,
my.
that's my bottom. I'm like,
Mm.
okay. So what do you do when you get hungry? He's like, well, I have my bitch cook me food. I said, okay, well, what happens when they're like not available? Then what do we do then? He's like, I just know how to make a hot pocket or an egg. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Now I'm thinking, okay, whatever is what it is. I leave. All right. I tell like some dudes in a Discord server, I'm like, bro, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about. We laugh a little bit. And then later that same night, all right, after him yammering on to some extremely gay homosexual inside the lobby that is very clearly gay and the bottom about how his dick is big and they should believe him. Right? All right. Before yammering in a fucking random stranger and offering to send him a dick pic to prove his point, which I thought was crazy. He then he then goes into a corner. He's like, "Fuck, bro, I'm hungry as shit," and I'm just like, "You should probably go learn how to cook. You should probably go cook you an egg or a hot pocket." He's like, "I don't have any." I was like, but tops like
Well,
that are my point. My whole point in telling that story is that there are some tops that are just so ignorant and so oddly against the idea of being feminine in any way, despite it being very subjective and completely stupid to some degree, that they're willing to do very
yeah.
stupid things to come off as masculine, right? Like they'll give up the idea of personality for the sake of pursuing something that honestly doesn't matter, right? I I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
a very weird concept.
It's like, 'cause again, going back to like me having that conversation with people, it's a lot of being part of the BDSM community outside of VR chat. Like they're very we have a set of rules in the community that pretty much anywhere you go in any state tend to share. A
Mhm.
lot of these people that do this stuff in VR chat, and I always preface this as like, listen, people who are content creators and do this as like it's like a personality, it's like an unlearned personality. I was like,
Yeah.
you're doing your work, whatever. And people who do it for fun, it's like, yeah, as long as you're being careful, like I have nothing against people like that. But people that like kind of like get an ego and they get this whole like thing, I was like, the BDSM community would toss you out in a heartbeat. It's like we have
Yeah.
rules that we follow by, and like the term mistress or dame is not something you can just slap on in the community. You actually have to like. I've gone
There's a
through
rep with it.
training. Yeah,
There's
I've
a
been
rep.
trained by other mistress, and one of the rules, in like, because with your story, one of the rules for like becoming a mistress or master is like you can't do anything to your sub that you have not already had done to you.
Mm.
Every dom, almost every proper dom, mistress, master, whatever title they want to go by, has been sub at one point or another because they have to understand what they're doing
I've made that same
and how it
argument.
feels.
I've made that same argument to so many tops because it's just a logical thing, right? First off, you have to know what makes a motherfucker comfortable, what makes them uncomfortable, what fucks with
Right.
them, what doesn't fuck with them, and then of course you need to know the person, right? You have to make sure you actually know what material you're working with, so whatever tool that you're making actually functions. Essentially, granted, a lot more objectifying as a metaphor, but you get my point, right? You have to know with who you're dealing with and how you're going to go about it.
Exactly.
But in order to do that, you have to kind of experience a little bit here and there, which I always found so funny about tops inside of VR chat. They
'Cause,
seem to not get
like
that
I
mostly.
made contracts with people like IRL with my clients and stuff like that that want to do like a long term type of thing. It's like, okay, what is your do and don'ts? What is your safe word? Like, which that's another thing. Consent and safe words, like two of the most ignored things.
I never
In the VR
understood.
chat community.
I never understood that concept for certain things because obviously consent is consent, right? Safe words are safe words. I just don't understand the concept of people not getting the idea of that, right? For some people, they seem
And
to
it's like, and
ignore
it's
it
not even it's not even in a sexual sense. It's just in like in a
in a
general
general
sense that
sense.
people
Yeah,
don't. And like, cause like I've gone into public worlds, and like within the first 5 seconds, I have somebody running up to me. Well, obviously, I'm usually like, because of my giantess stuff, I'm usually big. So I have like some like little like furry dude or some random person would just going to me, climb up to me, and just start booping me on the nose. I'm like, dude, like you wouldn't do that to somebody in public. Why would you do that to me in VR? Like, I don't know you. Why are you touching me? And like, and of course, there's always people that like any kind of female avatar, whether it's a guy or a girl in it, somebody will just run up to him and be like, "Honka," and it's like, bro,
yeah.
like I
Me,
know
I
this is VR, but it's still like disrespectful.
in my mind, right? If you're gonna start playing around, doing stupid shit, getting handsy, right? The least you could do is have a good conversation first, in which it may
Mm-hmm.
lead to something funny else happening. In my case, right? I wear avatars with big asses, right? They jiggle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I see a motherfucker with a big ass too, and I'll be like, "Damn, bro, what the fuck is you doing with all that ass?" Of course, not bigger than mine, because mine is just simply more superior. But I'm not comparing or anything, right? To compare is to somewhat imply that we might be on equal standing, and I'm not seeing a challenge in this room today, right? And then I'm like, no, what? Turn around, show me your cheeks. If they don't, they're like, nah. But if they do, they're like, no, fuck it, right? And something when they turn around, I'm like, evil hamburger, boom, right? It's just some goofy ass shit, just like that, right? But that is to say that some people don't communicate first and actually create a level of vibe or comfortability before conducting an action that might not be socially acceptable without the preparatory steps to getting there, right? This is to say that some people are socially inept and don't know how to communicate.
Oh, definitely. There's so many people that just that have no social skills at all, and like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But and like I'm the kind of person, like if I know you and like if I talk with you for a little bit, like I have no problem being flirty. I don't have a problem like with stuff like that. And like, but like right off the bat is like as soon as I spawn in the world and you just come run up to me and start like
dude, I
saying,
can't
"Dude, how are you?"
stand motherfuckers like that. Like people
And
who
then
don't even practice or try to have a personality before fucking around and doing stupid shit or trying to be sexual or flirtatious piss me off. Can't stand them.
and I'll calmly be like, "Hey, please don't do that." And then I always get like the like, "God, that's just a game," blah blah blah, and they just like run off and be all like bitchy about it.
Yeah, the funny part is it's like I don't really know what the goal is other to just like maybe fuck around, but it's like, damn, if I was going to like if there was any future of me doing anything with you in any sense that would have been more intimate or sexual, you just lost it with all of that attitude, motherfucker. Bye bye, back to the lobby. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, go, bro.
hmm But to like kind of like roll back to Pet Master dynamic. I know with the few people I've done it with. I again, like I said, I make like a contract, like, hey, what's your likes, what's your dislikes, how do you do that? And another thing that people don't understand, I'm what you consider a soft dom or like soft mommy dom, the caretaker sort, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not like I don't mind doing the whole like, yeah, let me pin you to the wall kind of thing, but um I'm usually like the caretaker, like, good boy, good girl type thing.
Mm.
Uh, and something else that people kind of ignore is like the consent is not a one-time thing.
It's a
Even like
repeated
when you're
thing.
mid-session, yeah, even when you're mid-session, like there's a constantly like, hey, are you doing okay? How you
Yeah.
feeling? Do you need a break?
Well, naturally,
Um,
that's just being considerate, which, of course,
yeah,
is not exactly a commonly practiced thing inside of VR chat to the point that it's become a social norm to be
mhm,
inconsiderate, which is quite
yeah.
unfortunate because it's like, well, damn, you could at least ask a motherfucker how he feels after, I don't know, it's been like a whole ass week since we've done anything, right? Maybe something changed up and I just don't feel like doing the thing we did last week this week. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
uh,
the thing is, if it was IRL and I was at like an event, like a BDSM convention or some gathering of some sort, and like I'm just endlessly using a paddle on someone's ass and not asking if they're okay, if they need a break, or do we need to take a stop, I would have security grab me and like yank me off and toss me out of the place.
yeah, bro, that's just a lack of situational awareness, I think. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I know it's quite an interesting thing, and at the same time, it's very annoying because in VR chat there is no real enforcement. What I argue is the reason why we have these many issues is because there's not really anybody amongst the people casually that enforce it casually, right? They'll
Yeah.
usually see it, let it pass because they're usually under the impression, oh, well, it's just pixels, or it doesn't matter. They want to be that one person that calls out the dude farting and being like, oh, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? They don't want to be seen as that person that's
Yeah.
problematic. So they usually stay a little bit silent, which is unfortunate because it means that a lot of things that shouldn't be socially acceptable in this game and becoming a culture are completely passable and accepted as a norm. And one of those things is being inconsiderate. It's
Yeah,
annoying.
I have noticed that because yeah, a lot of people just don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
me,
much.
like I said, I'm a staff and manager for a couple of different like Discord servers that do VR chat stuff, with their groups and everything. And it 9 times out of 10, it's there is somebody causing an issue, and we have like an anonymous like tip thing that you can just make a ticket in Discord and just like send us a message, and like barely anybody uses it. And then when something does happen and somebody finally speaks up, then everybody comes out of the woodwork like, oh yeah, we had this problem with him. It's like,
Well, yeah,
why didn't you say something?
it's so annoying because it's like it makes you wonder just how many issues have not been spoken on and have just been allowed to
Mhm.
pass. Like obviously on my channel or on my little fucking, yeah, I'd say my channel and my Twitter, right? I called out a couple of fucking content creators for doing some stupid shit or being involved in stupid shit. One of these people were named Orange,
Right?
right? In his case, he was called out for just specifically mixing, well, go figure, being NSFW while having a 13 plus group, right? I argue that if you're an NSFW
Mm,
in any way, you should not be around children in any way, period, right?
correct.
Because you don't know what the fuck could happen. It's a constant liability, right? In their case, this has resulted in a 16-year-old checking out their NSFW to confirm that they even have it, meaning that kids had access to it. In the video, it literally happens, and that person is 16,
Mm,
right? Of course, you got some backlash off the internet, yada, 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 right? But I always found it very annoying when stuff like that would happen because it's like, what the fuck are people doing? You know what I mean? The least one
oh,
could do is practice some safety.
I talk to my community and my mod team all the time. It's like, guys, if you find anybody that's in here that's not supposed to be in here, please tell me.
Say,
Please tell
yeah,
me.
say something. But
Uh,
sorry about that. But the thing that happened afterwards, right? When I actually said something about Orange, then I have a bunch of fucking content creators coming in my shit saying, "Oh yeah, we noticed something was up, yada yada yada, blah blah blah." I think I had someone like Starry Galaxy or some shit. They're like some fucking Mayu. I had some fucking people, some other fucking people I forgot the names of because they became completely, how you say, insignificant to me because I told them all the same shit. You're telling me you noticed this highly autistic person who was clearly mentally struggling and you convinced them to have sex and just didn't say shit about the mental state? What the fuck is wrong with you? And they're like, well, how was I supposed to know? I said, I noticed in 10 minutes. In fact, people who watched the video noticed in 10 minutes. They didn't even need 10 minutes, actually. They
yeah.
needed 1 minute. We all could see just how mentally inhibited this individual was. And you're telling me all of you knew and still chose to do what you did and only said something now that it's been called out. It feels exploitative and at the same time like the actions of an ignorant person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It a lot of people are like, again, people are just afraid to speak out because, especially with the way Twitter is now,
I know, right?
and the way content, like the VTuber community, perfect example. Everybody wants to call on everybody, and nobody wants to rock a boat because they're afraid if they rock the boat,
The
then
backlash
some 2 million follower VTuber is gonna come down on them and chase them off the internet, which has happened.
that has
So
indeed happened.
it's like this whole like afraid to be deplatformed for standing up for what's right versus doing it anyway and hoping for the best.
See,
You know?
the thing that I find to be problematic, right? Obviously, I'm a small creator, right? I'm not very big or
Mhm.
big in any respect. At least I don't think so. I don't really know what would count, right? But I believe in doing that, doing the thing that no one wants to fucking do, which is just simply say it how it is and call somebody out for doing some fucked up shit, right? Which is what I've been doing. I don't really care about the number because in my mind, if
Yeah.
there is overwhelming evidence of you doing something fucked up, it doesn't matter how dedicated someone is to your ass. Even if they stay by your side after it, they still got to say that you fucked up. Which is to say that some
Right.
people are just so unequipped mentally and just in generally with evidence, right, to deal with a social problem or thing of drama, right, that then they could face getting deplatformed. This is to say that if they actually, I don't know, probably dealt with problems more often or were more aware of how to go about dealing with drama, maybe they'd
Mhm.
actually know how to call out somebody for doing something fucked up. I've had to explain to numerous adults ages between fucking 20 and 30 that the best way to prove your argument, all right, is evidence and testimonies and cross reference. All right. Evidence makes people look. Testimonies make people listen. A combination of the factors will make people believe what you are saying. You cannot just provide one and expect everyone to get it. Some people are stupid. They need an explanation. Some people don't care because they
Yeah.
already know what the fuck
Yeah.
is up. They just don't give a shit because other factors are what their priority is, right? But ultimately, if you have the right amount of evidence and overwhelming evidence at that, it don't matter how big a motherfucker is. All it takes is one
Yeah.
fuck up and boom, they gone.
And it's happened like, oh my goodness. I guess I wouldn't necessarily say a bad habit, but I have like, especially in the past couple of months, have called out so many people for so many different things.
I've noticed.
Uh, and
I've noticed.
it's landed me in some deep water, but it's like, again, like people want to label everything as drama, but and to a point, there's a point where it is, and there's a point where it isn't, and it's like, yeah, if like somebody like, oh, this person upset me in some set of way, and you're making a big stink about it online, I was like, this is something that can be handled in DMs. It doesn't
Yeah,
need to be
that's
handled.
a petty drama, and then there's
That's
social
drama.
problem in my
But
mind. There's
when
social
there's
problem and
like,
drama.
oh, this guy diddled children and groom people, like that's not drama, that's illegal.
That's an actual problem. All right.
Like, I'm going to say something about it. I'm not gonna just let that slide. And but I try not to do it too much now, just because it's a mixture of like, this is my only job, so if I basically, I don't want to make it my sole content. Basically, I don't want to. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
want that to become my content. I don't want to be a
Yeah.
drama tuber.
Also, the more you surround yourself with it, the more problems it usually brings, depending on
Yeah.
how you go about it. If it's not your sole purpose in doing it, right, it
Yeah.
can make it harder to connect with people in your specific category, right, of
Yeah.
a
So
lot
like,
of
I'll do it
content making.
occasionally. Like, if I come across it, especially especially if it's like within my sphere
Mm.
of like people I know and people I hang with, or I have interacted with this person, is I'll definitely say something because like, hey, because there's a lot of people that do stuff, and I see fellow content creators that I know interact with this person, so I'm gonna be like, hey, just fair warning, like this, and this,
Yeah.
like, just, just so you know. But yeah, whatever. Complete ADHD side tangent there. But but yeah, bringing it back, it's just like people need to be a bit more
aware.
open-minded, aware, and considerate when it comes to like BDSM stuff.
Yeah, and just how they
And
overall
like
interact with another human being. If
yeah,
I feel like
um,
if people were just more aware of these things, they'll start looking. It's like if you walked into an aisle full of food, right, and all the bags and brands are yellow, right? And you walk past them, and then someone's like, "By the way, there's a green one in there." And you're like, "What? There was?" And then you go back, and you're like, "Oh, there is a green one." Right? Now, for some reason, your mind will be mentally aware towards anything that's green in that aisle in specific. Right? That's kind of just how the mind
right,
works. Once you point out a problem, people now recognize the pattern. Right? So
yeah,
I think the biggest issue right now isn't the fact that people are, well, go figure, choosing to be stupid, but I also think that it's a combination of a factor of people just simply not being aware of what's going on, the patterns, the signs, the red flags, right? And I think if more people spoke about it casually instead of it becoming a rare thing that only shows up on a Twitter post or when someone has to do the extremes, maybe we'd probably have less of those problems too. I'm just saying.
I agree.
Most of the,
It's
most of
like
the, oh, sorry, you go.
I mean, that's something I wanted to get back into with like my content is I wanted to get back into like I guess sex education would be the closest comparison I could think about, and
This
like
would
explain
definitely
like the
fall under.
dynamic. Yeah, to explain like the different dynamics and like I was like the differences between top and bottom and dom and sub because they're not the same thing.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people like, especially like streamers and VTubers, like, oh yeah, bottom talk, bottom talk. And it's like, what?
I always thought
Like,
that the way
I
that
get
people
the
go about it
joke.
right now is so shallow. It seems so shallow. The way that I explain it, right? People are like, oh yeah, I'm a top. I'm a top. I never take dick, and I'm like, that's not exactly what being a top is. I think being a top is a person who sets the pace, and being a bottom is a person who follows the pace, right? This means that you can be a
uh,
power bottom, right, or
yeah,
just make it a top, right? Go figure, because that technically is a top. We just gave it a new term, right? And you just
yeah.
simply set the pace of what the fuck is going on in the room. Simple as. That's what a top is in my mind. You are the pace setter,
It's like,
and then we have the pace follower, top, bottom,
yeah, but it's
right?
like it is that. But I was like, that's just a position.
That
It's
too.
literally just a position. Like who's on the bottom, who's on the top. It's not who is dom, who is sub. Because again, you mentioned power bottoms. Like they're still in control of the
Exactly.
situation. And I was like, because I'm sitting there like, have you never seen like like a a dominant woman riding a guy on top while holding his leash?
Exactly, right? Have you never
Or
seen
the other
like a
way
person that's
around,
a
where
top
she
just constantly take
like,
whatever the fuck pace is going on with their power
yeah,
bottom, right? And
yeah,
that's why I say it's a thing of ignorance in my mind, right? It's just a person just being ignorant or just not fucking knowing what the hell is actually going on. It just seems shallow because
hmm
of that fact. Probably because no one speaks on it. And also everyone kind of
yeah,
bastardizes the idea, right? Like in my
yeah,
mind,
very
like
much.
let's talk about like sexual conduct in general, or the idea of sex in general, right? It's supposed to be seen as this thing that you do with a person that you are intimate with, someone that you are specialized with, someone that you actually care for, someone that you trust, right? In VR chat, it's been bastardized to be a fucking commodity that you throw out inside of a room like a fucking can of paper, or like just a fucking can. You know what I mean? Like an item. I think that's a very weird way to go about it. You get
Yeah.
me? Because it basically means that there's no value, no real significance, no intimacy, nothing. And
The whole yeah, the whole intimacy thing is like that's another thing that's like and like completely to be completely non offensive, but a good
well,
majority of players tend to be people who are a bit on the spectrum.
mm, I've noticed.
Uh like autism and such like that.
Mm,
And they get easily attached to people.
yeah,
And and a lot of, again, we go back to the whole NPC syndrome thing where people want to do this ERP stuff and they don't take into account that some of the emotional attachment that people get with each other, and then they just kind of like toss them aside.
yeah. They don't want they want
And
all the fun, none of the responsibility with dealing with a person, and
right,
that's the shit that
and
I predominantly complain about and say is a very big problem in the community. Because you can do both. In fact, it's more gratifying to do both, right? Imagine doing stuff with a person you actually know that has actually learned to adapt to the fucking pace and the things that you like that you can actually just kind of be consistent with them instead of some random person you don't really know and have to teach
Oh,
every night.
almost every VR pet, VR sub that I've had in VR chat has told me the same horror stories where like, oh yeah, my previous owner like never gave me aftercare, never asked me if I was okay, never like always made me do stuff I didn't want to do, and like they
Didn't want to
hurt
do
me
anything
so
else
I
but
was like,
having sex. Couldn't do anything else
like
with them except that.
they played favorites with their other pets and subs, and it's like I was like,
Always had to do whatever the fuck
I
he wanted to
can't.
do just to get anything done. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by a hard-headed top, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the fucked up part is you can really tell who the fuck is a hard-headed top just by talking to them now, because they'll try too hard to be a fucking top, right? And it's fucking hilarious because it's
time.
like, dude, there's push and pull with every relationship. In fact, that's what makes people so invested is the push and pull. If you're a constant push, you actually push people away. If you're a constant pull, people kind of want to move away from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just kind of how that works. You have to
Exactly.
kind of check and balance, see what the fuck is good there before you just start going full in. But I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just delusional about it.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head pretty much.
Well, I would hope so.
It's exactly that.
I would hope so.
It
I
is
hope I know what the
exactly
fuck
that.
I'm talking about, or else maybe I've just been a really bad top these days. I don't know. Holy shit.
And like we've banned people from our community that have done that because like we've had these characters that like I'm a dom and because I'm here, I'm the only dom in this room, and like so condescending to like other people and posting on their content too because like people will post like photos that they've done and like and they just kind of like jump on like on them and like oh and like talk very down to the person even if they're like other content creators or if they're like other dumb content creators, they like talk to them so like belittlingly and I was like, bro, like how are you
My thing is,
what are you
right,
getting
is
from
like if you're going to
this?
be a dickhead, you should definitely have a reason. If you don't have a reason for doing something, that means the problem is you, not the thing. You should be able to
Yeah.
explain and express what the problem is. In my case, if I seem like a dickhead or a condescending asshole, it's because you've done something that I can explain as to why I don't fuck with you. It could be something as
Right.
significant as you doing a legitimate action or having a character or a mental space that I don't fuck with, or something as insignificant as I just don't like your fucking aura, buddy. All right, it depends. But usually the aura one I can ignore, right? Because obviously logic kicks the fuck in and it's like, bro, you're being silly. But for those who actually do legitimate things, I usually try to explain to them, you're doing something I don't fuck with. And luckily for me, I don't feel the need to be friends with everyone. I need you to get the fuck out of my face. And then I become a condescending asshole. The fucking, you know what I mean?
I had a run in with something like that recently. It's like you're not being a dom, you're just being an asshole. Because like we had a problem person in our community. Actually, a couple communities. They got banned from all of them for basically
Good.
doing the same thing.
Solid.
And then I blocked them. And then but I didn't block them on Discord. And they messaged me like, "Yo, why did you have me blocked on Twitter?" I'm like, dude, the amount of arguments and the amount of times you've been banned from places that I'm
No.
a part of and you've been yelled at, you have to ask. Of course, they didn't
Dude.
say that because I just wasn't even gonna interact. I just blocked them and like I'm not gonna have this conversation.
Dude, me, I
don't need to explain
love
myself.
explaining that shit. I just had a conversation like that last night. All right, I'm not gonna say names only because I need to confirm some shit first, and I'd be opening up a can of worms inside of a can of worms. All right, but there's this one individual, and I'm like, "Yo, what's good? How's it going? Yo, what's going on with your avatar? You're looking a little bit skinny there, buddy." Right, and then I actually made him feel some type of way. He actually got mad at that, left the world, and started complaining to our mutual friend that I offended him. Right. And, and I was like, I started laughing. I actually thought he was joking for a second because I'm like, there's no fucking way. He just said that he was fine. Right. Because I noticed him from Twitter. I was like, wait, you're the guy from Twitter that I interacted with that one time. It's like, oh, I don't remember you. Just to tell my friend that he did remember the interaction and he was using that as a reason to bitch as well. So I'm like, yeah. And then the reason why I was so confused was because the same friend that is our mutual brought me to the sign. He's like, hey, this guy's gotten banned from multiple communities and he actually just doesn't know why. We were wondering if you could figure out what's going on there. I'm like, okay, well, I would have to do this. interview some people, cross-reference, and get evidence of what's going on. But I also have to be in the communities to figure out all that information, right? And then from that one little interaction, I said, do I really need to fucking do this? It should be very obvious why the fuck he is not inside of these communities. He's a fucking social reject that doesn't know how to deal with any form of critique whatsoever to anything. He's a fucking man-child that can't control his emotions or even deal with the fact of them. And you're telling me you don't know why? And he's like, well, I get why. I'm like, then why the fuck are you wasting your time with such a goddamn waste of space? What's going on? And he's like us. I said, like us. I leaned in, I was like, who's us? What the fuck are you talking about? That guy's not like me. I dish out what I can take back. If someone came up to me and started cussing me out for something that I deem fair or even unfair, I just cuss them out too. Fuck you mean? Like us. All I did was comment on his Supreme being weak looking. As a joke. Like, what the fuck? But it's like people like that are so interesting because it's like, how are you so unaware of these very glaring and obvious problems you have? But they're very willing to make it everyone else's issue.
Oh, yeah.
The fuck is like, bro. Also, these are the same motherfuckers that will be like, I'm a top, or just go around slutting themselves out and fucking just doing shit with anybody. These are the same people that are the loudest and also the most prominent in communities. They'll just be everywhere for no fucking reason. You know what I mean? Until the right amount of people say, I don't fuck with this person, or they feel like they're too intimidated. Which I made a video on. I made a video on intimidation inside of VR chat and oppression.
Oh, yeah.
Which is common. Very, very common, sadly.
Yeah, we've had our share in our community of like the sex pests and the like harassers.
I'm stealing that name, by the way. Sex pest is quite funny.
Sex pest. It's a common term. It's a pretty common
I've
term.
never heard of it. I've never heard of it. We don't use that over in this side of the fucking community, bro. I've never heard of that.
It basically just somebody who like constantly pushes people to like do something with them even after they say no.
Nah.
The consent ignorers, basically.
Nah.
But we call them sex pests. But yeah, we have them. We have the stalkers, and like, there's so many people. If they do something wrong and you anger them by like banning them or reporting them, we'll just spend almost years going after the person who got them in trouble and like trying to dig up stuff on them. It's crazy.
Maybe this is just me not being a social reject and a normal person, right? But I just don't understand the obsession with one person when it comes to this type of shit. Like, here's how I think about VR chat, right? And I've told this to many people before. Your avatar doesn't mean squat diddly shit to me. Your character will mean fucking everything. Your words are betrayable, but your actions is something that you can rarely take back. This is to say that I hope that you're an actually good person, and I'm going to get to know you on that type of level. But whatever the fuck you think this avatar is doing is not doing it. Simple as is. Right. I can have someone else wear your avatar if I really fucking felt like it. And even then, it's for a momentary level of gratification. That's how it is. Yeah, maybe it won't be exactly the same. So, so it's a little bit of a faulty statement. But you get my point. All right? I mean, if the goal is the goon, then...
the simplest term for those people is sociopath.
Basically.
That's literally what they are. It's like... I've had a dude... Oh my god! Actually, he kind of became well known in the VTuber community as well because
I gotta know the name. I want to know the name.
Jonathan Davis.
Jonathan. That's such a normal fucking name. What the fuck? I was expecting something like.
That's the name he would. It would be like that or some like rendition of it, like Jay Davis or John D. Stuff like that. Always had some sort of Five Nights at Freddy's base profile. Every time, but he made friends. He stalked me and like a bunch of other female creators for like the longest time. He's gone now. He disappeared or he got ran off. But he got together with a whole bunch of other dudes who did the same thing. Made this like weird like League of Villains together. It was him, Epic
As we're
Mind.
calling it. Wait, villains are cool, okay? I don't want to fucking insult them like that.
But it was him, Epic Mind, Draco the Femboy. He was another big name
Why do I remember
back
that
then
name?
that caused a lot.
That
He
sounds
was
like a very
another
familiar name.
stalker that. It was
Interesting.
him, Epic Mind, who's now going by Alcor now, still doing the same shit on Twitter.
Alcor.
He
That sounds familiar too.
Alcor69. He's the disabled VTuber. But he used to be Epic Mind back in the day.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
And one other person that I can't remember the name of. Like those four, like all banded together and tried to like go after everybody that ever did them wrong. And eventually, they all dispersed. They all vanished from the internet because nobody was taking their shit anymore.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen them since. I think
Good riddance.
Jonathan came back like once for like a month, and everybody was like, "No," and then he disappeared.
You
And then
see
he
the
disappeared again.
the fucked up part, right, is that I made a video arguing forgiveness. I think that you can come back for specific actions if you show enough genuine, right, sympathy or empathy, right? I think that if you truly do mean your apology and you strive to work towards, well, whatever the fuck the opposite of what the fuck you did was, right, then you can be accepted back into a community or just come back as a better person, right? Of course, it depends on what the fuck you do. For more extreme cases, I'm sorry, there's certain things I would just simply never be forgiven. Maybe a person can deal with you or tolerate your
Oh, yeah.
existence, but forgive you is a whole different matter. But there's a lot of things that people can forgive you for. Stalking is one of those things where it's really hard to kind of forgive a motherfucker, right? As a stranger or a third party, you may be more inclined to because it wasn't you, but as the main person going through it, not so much, right? Things can get a little bit muddy and complicated. Some of them are cookie cutter, but I do argue that forgiveness is a thing that we should all try to have at some point, but there are limits.
He
And
was
reasons.
definitely mental of some sort.
Really?
'Cause,
I
like,
couldn't tell.
He doxed himself on multiple occasions. Like people contacted his family just to get him to stop. Because he like basically exposed who he was and like where he lived and everything.
That one scene of
But he would
Iron
do the
Man
same
being
all the
like,
time,
"Yeah,
where,
I
like,
live in
people would-
Malibu Beach." All right, the fucking one fucking scene
he
of
would
Iron
do
Man.
this thing constantly where a lot of people get on him and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, maybe I should take a break, maybe I should back out and not be so like blah 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 and everything." He's like, "I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna apologize, disappear for a week and everything," and he'd be gone for a week and then he'd come back and be like, no, I'm mad, I'm right, da, 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 da," and just start it all over again. Like it was like,
Well, yeah,
"Bro,
that's definitely a
just
mental thing.
stop."
That's
Yeah.
definitely a mental thing. But yeah, the community is obviously damaged in a lot of inconceivable ways. My side of the community is the furry community. We have our own allotment of problems. Of course, we are also quite sexual in nature on an average spectrum. Not everybody, but just as a general populace, yes. Right. So we also have the same level of bullshit when it comes to BDSM shit, pet master dynamics, sexual interaction, sexual intent, consent, blah, blah, blah. Right. The thing goes on and on. So a lot of these issues that you may be dealing with is what my community deals with. As much as I hate to fucking identify myself as this community. that one scene from JJK was just like, I fucking just can't stand this fucking, I can't stand this fucking community, bro. All right, but I just think that it would be nice if people were aware of these problems. And the only way for people to become aware is for people to talk about them.
Exactly.
I think that it's important to get, of course, opinions from people that are smaller and big because the perspective changes due to interaction, influx, and shit like that, right? Smaller people are not going to deal with these types of specific, specialized issues like a content creator will, but they still can, and their way of handling it might be different. You might have an entire team of people that you can reference in the community behind your back. A smaller person will not, right? Yada, 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 yada.
Right.
It's just how it works. But I think this is a very good point to stop off. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I will close this here.